Yo, what's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. We're doing a quick live stream today, and we're just going to be talking about what we're doing with, with crypto control, control token, soul control, and how important and big it is what we're doing. Everybody starts a crypto project, and I think a lot of people do a lot of things that could be cool and kind of interesting, but it doesn't actually like deal with the problem. And what we're building is going to allow for something that you've never seen or experienced before. Um, so I've done videos on this and stuff, but it's super important to just kind of like understand like what it is that we're doing so that you can decide, whether or not you want to be a part of this or not. If you guys followed me for like Safe Moon or Evergrow, what we're doing is so much bigger than those projects because we are meeting and providing a solution that has never been done before. So, and I've kind of talked about this before, is we're basically making a liquidity pool that will do all of the contract work, smart contracts, taxes, providing extra tokens. What's up, Mitch Bromwell? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well, brother. And it's going to be a whole new version of DeFi that nobody's ever seen before. That's what we're building right now. And we'll be having the more information come out about this. And basically, it'll allow for anybody to choose how they want the taxes to work. And typically, taxes cost the holders. And so you never want to be able to do a big tax. But if the entire problem of crypto is that, let's see, you know what, let me just start over. If the entire problem is that holding is punished and selling is rewarded, and buys or sells are fueling, rewards. I'm sorry. Buys fuel rewarding selling. And so with the tax token, you can start to take a percent of buys that would normally go towards rewarding selling and reward holding. The problem is that like with SafeMoon or Evergrow or any of those projects, that as soon as you do a tax, people have to pay a tax. SafeMoon was 10%, Evergrow was 14%, and people don't want to pay taxes. Like it's really that simple. People want the benefits of being in a project that rewards holding, but people don't like paying taxes. And so we've created a solution for that. And we've already implemented this solution into Control Token and into Soul Control. And it's very simple. We just give you extra tokens to cover the taxes. Now you get the benefit of being in a reward token without having to pay the taxes. So we've, solved that solution. It's a very simple solution. Praying for you and your family. Thank you. Yeah, I'm about to have a son like within the next week or two probably. So exciting times, very busy time in my life. Good to see you, Mitch. Hope everything's going well, brother. We also have a big payout coming for Soul Control, which is going to be 12 grand to 5 holders. So just being a holder of Soul Control, you could win, 12 grand, which is absolutely crazy. So this is like the simplest way to kind of explain this problem. And everybody kind of ignores this, which is, it's so interesting that like a lot of the times the biggest problems are ignored. And, people don't understand, because if you don't understand the problem, you don't understand the solution. And so buys fuel selling. And that's the problem, is buys fuel selling, and everybody is chasing being early and dumping. Nobody wants to hold. Everybody's only trying to looking to get out at the right time. And if your goal is only to get out at the right time, you're not focused on the community, you're not focused on growth, and you're not focused on success of the project or community that you're supporting. And so this type of incentive divides everybody. It takes a community of people and it divides them against each other. Everybody's trying to sell down the project, and in order to sell a project down, you need people to buy in after you. You're literally, a community is trying to use each other for exit liquidity, unless you can change the model. And so through taxes, you can say, I want 30% of buys to go towards rewarding holding, and maybe 70% of buys to go towards liquidity for selling. People get the full bag value and they don't have to sell in order to get significant value. And so what this does is it creates an environment where both selling and holding is rewarded. If only selling is rewarded, then it becomes an extremely hard environment to produce growth and marketing and to really support the idea that you're supposed to be, believing in. So, only rewarding selling is like rewarding people for getting other people to believe in something that you don't believe in. And I think that's what crypto is about. It's like, well, we don't really believe in the long term, but we're trying to get people to believe in it in the short term so we can get out. And I think that should resonate with like across the board with most cryptos. So the ability to do, high percentages, not even to think of it like a tax, but to just say, how much of the community how much of the value do you want to go to your community for holding, and how much do you want to go to your community for selling? Well, before, you can't do this. No one can run a 30% tax. No one's going to buy that because nobody wants to pay 30% on buys and even more on sells. But what that means is that you can't create a project that incentivizes holding significantly. You can only do it to a certain degree of like 10-15%. And most people really don't want to pay more than 10 or 15% when it comes to a tax token. Like that's just, it has happened, like with Evergrow, 14%, and some other projects, but anything above 10 is like, you exclude most of the market because most people don't want to buy into tax tokens. But what that means is that we can't really explore the crypto of what would crypto look like if you were able to balance the incentive to stay versus the incentive to leave, right? That's really the question we're looking at. This is why I say what we're doing is so much bigger than SafeMoon or even Evergrow, because those weren't like new ideas. Those were just taking old ideas and doing them, and they were really great in different ways, and it's really bad in other ways when it came to SafeMoon. But ultimately, the early buyers are winning at the cost of the later buyers, and the community is being punished for believing in the project. You don't want a structure that does that. You don't want to build something that punishes most of the community for believing and rewards the people who leave, and kind of leaves the project in a state that's dead. So the ability to control this percent, right? For anybody on our DEX, anybody who builds a token, you'll be able to say, I want to do a 30%, 40% towards holding, and then, the other percent towards selling. And selling just means liquidity. One of the most important aspects of this is that people get to choose what type of crypto they're in. And right now, there's only available to people is cryptos that reward being early and dumping. Everyone's trying to be early and dump, and people are detached from seeking the success of each other, because the only way to seek success with that traditional design most of the time is to find your exit liquidity, find your community to be your exit liquidity. And so that needs to change. Like, crypto needs to not be about finding other people to dump on. It needs to be about supporting good communities and good ideas. That's what crypto should be about. And if we can get to rewarding holding significantly, then we can allow for or create an environment where people can start to care about the success of the project because there's actual value in holding. And the way that we get to that is through providing the really the tools and ability for people to make the type of cryptos they actually want to be in. So you've never had the option to say, what percent of buys do you want to go towards rewarding the community? You have, but it's at the cost of a tax, and you can't push it that high. We do have a couple names, but it's not completely decided yet. So what we're building, I'll just give you a quick layout of what we're building. Anybody who wants to make a token can say, hey, what percent do you want to go towards of buys, all the buys that happen, or sells as well? Do you want to go towards liquidity? That's just the price going up, right? And what percent do you want to go towards rewards? Now, typically, like I keep saying, you only have a small window. You've got like 5-10% before people are like, dude, I'm out. Um, Another downside is it puts sells on the chart. We are building it a solution in so that it doesn't put sells on the chart, which is super important as well. But people will be able to say, I want to make a token that maybe does 50%. Maybe half of the buys go towards rewards and half of the buys go towards liquidity. Now, there might be other problems that come with this, but the important part here is not providing the perfect crypto, but it's providing the ability to make cryptos in ways that have never been done and explore what these new cryptos look like. And the most important part is to explore what crypto looks like when it rewards a community for holding versus for dumping. Because if you can be rewarded for holding, then you can be rewarded for, supporting each other. Whereas if you're only rewarded for selling, then you're rewarded for really hurting each other. So if we can, unite the community, they can be strong. But if the community is always divided and always trying to use each other's exit liquidity, then that's not going to last, right? Jesus said any kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So we want to reward and incentivize the community to push towards success. And right now, the incentive to sell is so strong that it divides everybody against each other. It's really bad. And so a lot of people are getting hurt in DeFi. And so you'll be able to make a token. You'll be able to say 50% if that's what you want to do. And what's really cool is you can do that 50%. You could do like 20% weekly. You could do another 30% that comes out. Sorry, I'm a little sick. Comes once you finish your utility. You can pick a date and say these rewards are going to pay out once we achieve a certain amount of holders or a certain utility or a certain time frame. So you can set it up to be auto staking, or you could set it up to be like a date that everybody's working towards, which is really cool because now people are building up rewards towards a date instead of just being like get in, get out, dump, pump, dump, and now everybody's left with a chart that nobody wants to buy. So another really cool thing about this is it's not just a DEX, it's a launchpad and a terminal. So we're also going to be building the ability to, when anybody comes and looks at your token, they will see all the tokenomics, right? Now, typically you just have to read that on like the website, but here you'll be able to see, oh, this guy's got 50% going towards liquidity and the other 50% is going towards rewards. 1 second, guys. So you don't have to do 50%. You could still just do like, 20, 30, 10%. It's about giving you the tools to do what you want to do. And you basically can eliminate the tax. So instead of the holders having to pay that, you just give them extra tokens to counteract the tokens that they would have gotten, right? If you pay a 10% tax on the reward token, you get 90% of your buy because the other 10% went towards rewards. Well, my belief is that you should have the ability, if you want to, get 100% of your tokens, right? And it's actually really easy to do that, actually. It's very sustainable. And it's really awesome because typically, basically with reward tokens, people enter in whatever the token is, percentage is, down. You buy and your bag goes down. You put in 100, you're at 90, and now you have to wait for it to go up, whatever percentage, 10%, in order to make up for that tax, difference, which is a lot. And that can be good for getting people to hold, but it's really bad when it comes to the effect that it has on holders, as well as the ability to get people to buy it because people don't want to pay those taxes. But it's not about any of that. It's about uniting your community to use crypto for the good of each other rather than using it as a pump and dump to use each other as exit liquidity. That's the entire, why what we have is so powerful and how we get to that. And the fact that we're building it all into how the DEX works. So you don't have to do anything. You just pick the percentages that you want and you'll have a token. You could do things that you never thought possible. We're providing you with all the solutions and you just sit there and pick what you want. It's like, it'll be super easy to make a token. And we're gonna be making tokens that have never been done before. You've never seen a 50% liquidity, 50% rewards. And even if we were to say, 30%, that's a lot. So, if you had 10 million in volume, I just spelled that wrong. If you had 10 million in volume and you have 70% liquidity, and let's just say buys, then that would be $7 million that would go towards price, which is cool. That's rewarding people for selling, right? And typically after a chart gets sold down, there's no value left. That's the really important thing to remember, is to constantly compare this to traditional crypto. With 10 million in volume, you would have $3 million in rewards. Now you could do anything with this. You could do rewards for stakers. You could do buybacks. You could just do a buyback of $3 million, like a huge buyback wallet. You could do marketing. You could say we have $3 million in marketing, right? The power to kind of control these numbers, right? And then to let people decide what type of crypto do you want to be in. Do you want to be in one that has 100% towards liquidity, and after it gets sold down, there's nothing left? Or do you want to be in one that supports you, the community, for staying? Most people are going to be like, yeah, of course want to be in a crypto that supports me for staying, but I don't want to have to pay those taxes, right? But because of our solution that we call taxless tokenomics, and it's very simply just giving extra tokens to cover the fees that you pay. When you buy, we give you so many extra tokens that it's as if you only pay like a 1 or 2% sell fee total. and that's with any percentage, right? The key to that is that you set aside a large percent of the supply, and it really doesn't matter. You could set aside 90% of the supply. You could set aside 75% of the supply and then cover taxes. Like, what we're doing is so groundbreaking. It makes SafeMoon look like child's play. It makes it look stupid, because SafeMoon was stupid, to be real. Like, rewarding people in a token that kept getting sold down means the rewards that everybody was chasing were constantly being devalued. And so the only people that were being rewarded were the people that were selling. Everybody else was chasing a dream and the success and belief, and they were punished for believing in SafeMoon. Whereas the people that were selling down SafeMoon, the people that were taking advantage of the project or the community, were the ones that were rewarded for basically not believing in SafeMoon. And so that's really bad. That hurt a lot of people. It did a lot of damage. It caused a lot of distrust in DeFi and in crypto in itself. And so the entire idea is that we need projects that reward the community. And so that's why I say, I always make these examples. I actually got to go pretty fast, so I'll be getting off in a few minutes. Say you have 0 to 100% of your community. And this is what we're building. You guys are going to see. We're building some crazy stuff. If I were to ask you, what percent of your community do you want to come away with value, right? Most people aren't going to say like 5 to 10, but that's probably what it is. It's probably like 5, 10, 20% of the community wins, and the other 70, 80, 90% of a community was exit liquidity for that 5 to 10%. So most people would pick a number higher than what's currently happening in crypto, which means that our product that we're building is something that people want, whether they know about it or not. The ability to reward more of your community for staying is what everybody wants. Like, everybody wants what we're building. So you want to reward more of the community. That's why I see it as a success. What we've done with Control Token and Soul Control is we've taken value through a tax, built up value. It doesn't go to the sellers, and then we give that value to the holders over a longer period of time. And what that does is it rewards more of the community, a higher percentage of the community. And here's the biggest thing is, incentives matter. I don't know if you guys follow Elon Musk. But incentives matter, right? If people are incentivized to do crime and do bad, then you're going to have crime, and people are not going to, if there's no consequences, whatever, right? But if people are incentivized to not do crime because there's, judges and accountability, then creates a better environment for everybody. Same thing with crypto. Incentives matter. And so you want right now, if you buy a token and most of the value goes towards rewarding selling, then you're only incentivizing people to hurt the project. They hurt the chart, the sentiment, each other. They make everybody's bags go down, and everybody's being incentivized to chase making the chart go down, right? That's all you're chasing, is to make the chart go down. But and it divides everybody. But if you can incentivize holding, then you can reward what is good for everybody. If you only reward selling, then you reward what's bad for everybody, right? And the model that we have is one that almost entirely leans towards only rewarding selling. And everybody's trying to counteract this problem by promising the future, by adding utility, by giving extra tokens, by giving, NFTs and just anything in the world other than balancing the value that goes towards incentivizing leaving and the value that goes towards incentivizing holding. And so if you can start to find ways to balance this, you're going to see different environments for cryptos to exist in, where you can have people chasing ideas with more of the community coming away with value for supporting the project. Traditionally, it's only people that came away with value, and maybe they supported it for a time, but eventually the only people that are rewarded with the token are the people that sold it down. And that's not good. This is clearly not a good model for communities. It's not a good model for DeFi. Most people in DeFi who have participated in it, most people are at a loss, right? Most people have been exit liquidity. It's mathematically impossible to have a buy-sell structure without outside utility revenue. Some projects have that, but most don't. And it usually doesn't compare to the value that comes from buys. And so it's overall done more damage to people than it has helped. Crypto has. That's just the reality of it. And so by having the ability to change these numbers, you can make crypto better, and you can get people to stop chasing using each other as exit liquidity and to start chasing the actual growth of the project. Believed in Safe Moon, shared SafeMoon to the world, and it killed a lot of friendships. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. I still have people that will not talk to me. I mean, that's why it's always like only put in what you're willing to lose. If you can't stand the idea of losing that money, you put in too much. It has to be like, even if that's gone, I'm okay. Maybe I'm a little upset, but if it's like, I can't believe you did that, we're no longer friends, then you definitely invested too much. So kind of like pulling back and just talking about, you need a system that rewards the community for working together to achieve growth and success of the goal of the project. Maybe it's a meme coin, maybe it's a utility, but we're supposed to be invested in the success of it, not in selling it down. That model that we have right now is the opposite. It works against the community. It works against the success because all the value goes towards selling. And so what we're really doing by rewarding holding and by providing the ability to reward holding more than any cryptos you've ever seen in ways that have never been done before. Nobody's ever done what we're about to do with control. So if you reward selling, then it causes all the problems. It'd be like rewarding people for destroying the country you're in. Whoever destroys the country the most and does the most damage to the country and divides us the most, you get all of the tax dollars, right? That'd be crazy, right? That people would immediately seek to destroy the country. And because we reward selling, what happens to crypto projects? They die. They get destroyed. The chart dumps. People lose interest. They leave. It makes it harder to market it. People don't believe in it because belief is attached to the chart. That's another thing, is that all of this is attached to the chart. Yeah, I do have some lozenges, but I do need to, I'm taking all kinds of stuff, but I'm just kind of giving my, it's when I talk that I cough a lot, so I need to not talk, but I wanted to do this. Because we are getting ready to start marketing this product that we're making, which is, this is crazy. I might just be like, oh yeah, it's crypto control. It's just some YouTuber guy who, whatever. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. If anybody will just take a moment and listen to what I'm saying and understand it, then you'll understand something that most people in crypto don't even think is possible. I promise you, I've talked to tons of people. I've been to the crypto spaces. I've talked to tons of people. Nobody knows what we're doing, that it's even possible to do this. And the most important thing is it's not just something cool that people don't know about. It gets to the heart of the problem. It gets to the heart of the problem, right? You only reward selling, you divide everybody against each other. And if you can start to reward holding, this is what I was going to say, is you need a system that properly balances the ability to believe or not believe in something. Because the idea might suck, or the devs might change or die, or it turns out they're untrustworthy. And so for there to be value in not believing in something, or the ability to leave, is useful. It's useful to be able to be like, yo, I don't trust you guys anymore, I'm out. Or I don't believe in the vision anymore, I'm out, right? It's super important to have liquidity to be able to leave, right? But if you only have liquidity for leaving, then you're not providing the ability to reward belief. That's the problem. Soul Control, we're providing, and Control Token, the ability to reward belief over long periods of time. We proved this concept works. We rewarded more of our community than probably any other token in the history of DeFi, outside of utility revenue, right? Every other token that exists cannot compete with Control Token or Soul Control in terms of how much value we've given back to the community for holding. We take in significant amount of value from what would have went towards liquidity for selling, and we gave it as rewards to the community for holding. And nobody's done it better than we have. It's just a reality. I'll challenge anybody. Nobody's ever covered the taxes. Nobody's ever delayed rewards. If you give out rewards immediately, then people just sell down the chart and get rewards at the same time. But if you delay those rewards, everybody who sells before those rewards pay out, they didn't get any of those rewards. So it's all about building up as much value as you can to reward people for staying in the project. And when they can see that model, they can see, oh, there's so much value being built up for me, then they can see a real future that's worth pursuing. And if people can unite around that future, then they can chase success for each other and not just themselves. And it's an awesome thing to be able to be like, hey, this crypto will reward me without me having to leave. Most cryptos, they only reward you for leaving, right? That's unbelief, belief, sell, hold, leaving, and staying. Well, you know, the ability to be significantly rewarded, like we just had to have 5 holders who got $15,000 each for staying in Soul Control. We significantly rewarded you for staying in the project. And it's really awesome because there's a lot of ways to do that. We're just providing the tools for people to explore what's possible, a realm of, you know, cryptocurrencies that can reward buybacks, holding, liquidity, staking, marketing, paying teams without putting sells on the charts while covering the taxes. And it's all plain as day to see, and it does it all on the DEX. You don't do anything. You pick the numbers. You agree. You go buy other tokens. It shows you all the tokenomics. You get to decide, do I like this or do I not? It is a version of DeFi that has never been done before that directly addresses the #1 problem in DeFi, which is the incentive to be early and dump. And it needs to be holding. You need to reward holding, and it needs to be in such a way, because if you only kind of reward holding and most of the values in selling, which is how every DeFi goes, every DeFi token goes, then people are chasing unbelief, they're chasing leaving, they're chasing selling, they're chasing hurting. This has caused division, all of those things, right? But if you can provide value in holding, and people can start to see, wow, there's significant value in holding as well as leaving, then you'll allow for people to be part of a system that actually allows for you to decide whether or not you believe in the idea or not, right? And most people want to see their crypto succeed, but a few people selling down the chart who were early stop it from happening. That's the reality. Is the current model we have is really holding crypto back. So the solutions that we have are, we're on a gold mine. Like I said, I would love anybody who understands these things and looks at DeFi can see, wow, like this hasn't been done before. That alone is extremely valuable because everybody's trying to do something new, like new art, new images, new tech. And what we've done is problem solve. That's all we've done to get to where we're at, is problem solve. Hey, there's a problem. The people who are early are being rewarded for dumping, and it destroys the community, and it doesn't allow for growth, and they get all the value. They need less value. They need less control. More value needs to go to the community, and it needs to go to the community not for selling, but for staying. And what we've discovered is how to get to that better, community uniting systems. But what we've discovered is there's a whole version of DeFi that hasn't been done before. And it's really exciting what is possible. And I just think about this. If you can control what percent goes towards selling, what percent goes towards holding, what percent goes towards the team, all without putting any sells on the chart, because the value is collected beforehand, and then it goes. So no sell pressure on the chart. It's just less buy pressure. And then what type of cryptocurrency would you choose? Most people, I bet, are not going to choose, I want most of the value to go towards selling. Now, they still might choose that. But the most important theme of all of this, it kind of goes back to like political, is that you want people to be a part of a system that they choose to be in. And, a lot of the times people don't want to be in a bad system. Crypto right now, everybody's stuck in a bad system. It rewards the people at the top for destroying the project. That's like rewarding your government for making everybody's lives miserable. It's the same thing. And instead, we have to pull power, control, and value away from the top, just like you want to do with your government. You want to pull power away from them, give it to the people. You want to pull value away from them, give it to the people, and control. And you want to balance the power and value that goes towards the government, towards the people, but you also want to balance the value incentives away from hurting everybody to helping everybody. So it is about decentralizing the liquidity pool. That is really probably the key phrase that explains what it is that we're doing, is we are decentralizing the liquidity pool. And we're really giving the freedom to choose how much you want it to be decentralized in a way that's never been done before. Typically, this is not possible because people would have to pay really high taxes. But because of taxless tokenomics, you set aside a large amount of the supply and you cover the buys. Now it's sustainable. And there's other things you can do to make it sustainable forever. You could add a sell fee that collects tokens that get sent back to the tokens that cover the buy fee. And then you can match the buy and sell pressure. I mean, it's solution after solution after solution after solution. What we have is so amazing. And to me, it's hilarious because it's like, I know how crazy this is. I've covered reward tokens. I've covered SafeMint, Evergrow. I understand tokenomics. I got into liquidity. I got to be a part of these large scale crypto projects, SafeMint and Evergrow, that I was heavily involved in, not just as like a update guy, but as a understanding the math and the tokenomics and the psychology, as well as being a part of the experiences from the good, the bad, and interacting with the community during those times. So I have heavy experience with all of these things to understand what went wrong, how did it go wrong, where were we deceived, and what would be a good solution. And I spent years coming up with these ideas. So super, super excited about this DEX that we're building. It's a DEX terminal launchpad. We might go with the control branding, but we might go with a new name as well. It hasn't been officially said yet, but as soon as the website gets updated, we will let you guys know. And I'm basically going to be designing a token for this DEX Launchpad. And when you buy into this token for the DEX Launchpad, a percent of all the revenue from the Launchpad, the DEX, the terminal, any revenue, a percentage of it will go back towards this token. So you're going to be buying into one of the first tokens that doesn't have the limits that we've always had. You can't push the sell pressure. We're going to be able to do a token that's never been done before. And the tokenomics will all be explained in the website, because that's what you're buying into. But it'll also be benefiting from the platform that allows for everybody to explore all the different percentages of value incentives that are possible. That's really all we're saying. It's like, stop thinking about crypto this way, but think about it in terms of who do you want to reward, how much of your community do you want to reward, how long do you want to reward them for. And then it allows for a whole new market of tokens where people can go This one's a lot more long term. This one really rewards holding. You know, this one has a huge buyback wallet. It gives power and control to the people. And it's the entire point is we've never had the ability to pull value away from the early buyers. They've always dominated and sold down every crypto that you can think of. This gives you the power to pull value and power away from the early buyers and give it that value and power back to the community. Like I said, we are decentralizing the liquidity pool. I appreciate you guys being here. And like I said, subscribe and just get ready for more content. And